NaNoWriMo about where I'm at in my novel and give a couple tips for each week, and I'll be doing that every Monday. So check back next week as well for my updates and my tips. So I'll admit, I had a little bit of a rough day yesterday. I was kind of recovering from Halloween a bit, so I was ridiculously tired. And just for some reason, the words were not coming out. But eventually I was able to get to the daily goal of 1,667 words, so that way I at least got started. And I'm really hoping that today, since I'm a little bit more awake and I'll have a bit more inspiration to kind of keep going, and my hope is to maybe have like 3,000 or 4,000 words, maybe even 5,000 words by the end of the day. We'll see. And I don't want to give too much of my novel away because it is a sequel to another book, but in my updates I do kind of want to read a little bit, and so today I'll just be reading the first couple sentences that I wrote. And my first two sentences are: "This is the worst 21st birthday ever," Lexi moaned. Her curly blonde hair flapped onto the bar as she threw her head into her arms. So that's the first couple sentences of my novel, and so I've kind of had that in my head, so I knew that was how my novel was going to start, so it was pretty easy getting those first couple sentences out there. So for the first week of NaNoWriMo, I have two tips. My first tip is to just start writing. I think sometimes we get really scared and we wonder, where do I even begin? And my suggestion is just to start anywhere. Like for me, I usually have the first scene or so in my head already, and so it's pretty easy for me to start at the beginning. But I know some people, they don't know how their story is going to start, or they have other scenes in their head, and I say it's totally okay to just start with whatever is in your head. And if it's not the first scene, that's okay. Just start writing and then fill in the gaps later. Or sometimes we get a little bit paralyzed because we're like, oh, I haven't outlined enough, or I haven't researched enough. And my answer to that is sometimes that really is legitimate. Sometimes you do need to do more outlining and more research, but a lot of times it's also, there's always going to be more outlining to do, there's always going to be more planning to do, and there's always going to be more research to do. You can totally do that while you're writing. So I know my plot, it has so many gaps and it's not fully fleshed out at all. But I had this scene in my head, so I went ahead and I wrote that scene, and then while I was at work last night, I had my NaNoWriMo notebook with me, and when I had free time, I kind of just started jotting down some notes for my outline and my character development. So you can totally be writing a novel, but also working on everything else at the same time. No one says that your planning and your research has to stop in November. And my second tip for the first week of NaNoWriMo is to get ahead. Don't feel like you have to stop at the word goal unless you're like completely wiped out and don't have anything else to say for the day. But this is the time when like we're all super excited, energy is high, and we all want to get our novels done. So this is a really awesome time to tap into that energy and to get ahead in working on your novel. Because I guarantee you later this month, you're going to hit roadblocks. You're going to have days where you have no clue what you want to write. You're going to have days where you're just way too busy. Maybe you have holidays or vacation or work or school or whatever. And so there's going to be times in the month where you're not going to get much done. And so you're really going to want some of that extra padding in your word count. And the first week is an awesome time to do it because you're so excited to get your novel going. So that is my update and my tips for the first week of NaNoWriMo. Let me know how you're doing so far, if you have any suggestions for the first week, and leave them all down below in the comments. And if you haven't added me as a writing buddy and you want to, I'll leave that link down below in the doobly-doo. And happy NaNoWriMo!